Hello. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? I'm sure you missed me. Well, either way, hello and welcome back. Or if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Onivin, or just Vin, or Oni if you prefer. And today I'm bringing you 3 of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to art and the art community. Before I jump into this, I should clarify that these are all obviously biased and my opinion, since these are the things that annoy me from an artist's perspective. If you are not an artist, some of these pet peeves may seem trivial and not a big deal at all, which is completely fine. Now, onto the first one of the 3. If you're any old Joe on the internet that likes art, you've definitely come across some random account that shits out art posts that definitely are not their own, and they farm likes and clout off of it. More often than not, they either have credit to the artist written in the description with surprise surprise, no link to the original artist, or just DM for credit, which for me can mean 2 things. One, this could be like, oh, DM me and I'll tell you who made this piece of art, and 2, DM me if you're the original artist and I'll add your credits. Either way, I heavily dislike it. It's scummy enough to grab random beautiful works of art you find on Google and post them on Twitter or Instagram or wherever when it's not yours. But I believe it's even scummier when the reposter does it under the facade of giving exposure or help to the artist. Now, all my artist viewers are no doubt seething at the word exposure, and I don't blame you. We've probably all had our fair share of people coming to us asking for work to be done in exchange for exposure or some other useless things. Don't get me wrong, exposure when done right is quite beneficial to the artist. It can boost commissions and gather more of an audience that can enjoy your work. The issue is, exposure is almost never done right because it's often promised by people who literally cannot provide it. Aspiring small content creators on any website tend to fall into this a lot. Anyway, back on track. If you ask me, popular artists have the worst experience with art reposters. Why? Because it's most likely their art that's being put up on display. Instead of gathering traction on their own original post of their art, everyone flocks to this random reposter account to shower praise or critique on the art there. Some of these accounts even have the audacity to crop out or blur the watermark of the artist, making it impossible for the viewer to even figure out who made it. Those are the scummiest of all, and that's not my opinion, that's a fact. These poor artists have to go out of their way to deal with these people who just want to ride on the coattails of success and fame that they themselves can never achieve on their own. That's not to say small artists have it any better if their art is stolen or reposted. In fact, I think it's much tougher for them to fight for their artwork to be recognized as theirs if it's reposted by one of these accounts, as they tend to have a smaller, less outspoken following. If you see any smaller artists crying out for help in a situation like this, please do your best to help and spread the word. I'm sure it would mean the absolute world to them. If you want to repost art, I advise against it, unless you already have an established platform. There is a way to do it that's tolerable and even helpful, at least in my eyes. If you repost the art, make sure to credit and link the artist's original post. Not just the artist's name, but the name and a link to what platform or platforms to find them on. That way, a person may see this piece of artwork, enjoy it, and easily find the original artist to follow and keep up with for more art. If you're not bothered with all that, there are many social medias with built-in reposting abilities that keep the original artist or poster as the main focus, such as reblogging on Tumblr or retweeting and quote tweeting on Twitter. I spent like 7 hours on this. I'm very proud of it.
Nice.
Cool.
I spent several days without eating, without sleeping, without drinking, and all you have to say is,
Cool.
wow. Well, I expected more, but, you know.
This kind of thing has happened to me so many more times than I can even remember. Obviously, that little skit is an exaggeration, but accurate enough nonetheless. Although these kinds of people can be just anyone complimenting artwork, what I'll be focusing on is artists complimenting other artists' work. Some artists have a habit of saying one word, lifeless and boring comments on other people's work, and yet expect others to shower their own art with praise and heartfelt compliments. They'll often use words like nice, pog, cool, or swag, and think that's enough if they leave it at that. Now, obviously, the level of annoyance this brings varies from artist to artist. But for me, it's incredibly annoying, and it just shows that you don't really care about whatever you're trying to compliment. Words aren't that hard to splice together to create a nice comment, and that's being said by me. Someone who has a terrible time trying to form words. So much so that I can't deviate from my scripts even a little bit, or else I'll turn into a stuttering, nonsensical mess. Be glad you don't hear that on a daily basis like my boyfriend does. Anyway, like I said, while it's very annoying to me, it may be different for other artists. Some may not care at all, and that's completely fine. I'm only here to talk about things that bug me specifically, after all. I feel like these individuals tend to either be young or unaware, or even both at the same time. They may not understand that such compliments are very lifeless and don't contribute anything to the feedback the artist may be looking for. Artists, in my experience, myself included, love it when people point out certain things in their art that they've clearly spent most of their time on, or were really proud of. Using myself as an example, I really appreciate when people point out the effort I put into shading and rendering hair, as I spend most of my time trying to make that look good. For other artists, it could be outstanding anatomy or beautiful eyes, and for some, it's simply the color choices and the mood of the piece. In my opinion, if you don't have any genuine compliments to give, don't comment at all. Or even better, try your best to look for something in the artwork that appeals to you the most and point it out. Let the artist know they did a good job. Most artists draw for themselves for sure, but it's always nice to hear that a stranger or a friend alike enjoys your work. Whether you're drawing fan art of a video game or your own characters, it's always extremely frustrating to see in comparison that a doodle or sketch of something similar made by someone else reaches a much bigger audience. I'm not dissing the artists themselves. I'm sure most of them are rather talented and can draw amazing pieces when they have the time. The main fault here is the algorithm, rarely the artist. I've seen this happen time and time again on Twitter specifically, where a brand new account with no contacts or relations to anyone has the potential to gather hundreds, maybe even thousands of followers overnight by posting simple doodles of a cute character, like a persona or fursona. In fact, I've heard of artists doing social experiments to test out this very thing. One rather popular example is when a Twitter user called Rambites, aka Jay, created a social experiment account using a cute blue cat character named Ozzy. They made the design eye-catching and easy to draw, and just posted drawings of the character with short captions. These drawings, claimed by Jay themselves, took usually mere minutes to create, and yet it got a lot of attention very quickly. He later came out with a twitlonger on the Aussie account explaining the social experiment and how terrified they were at the results. And the results, honestly, were indeed terrifying. If it was possible to reach over 1,000 followers on a brand new account in just 3 days from posting simplistic, cute doodles, I can imagine how fast the numbers would continue to rise if the experiment lasted a month as it was first intended. It's disheartening to see how these algorithms, not just on Twitter mind you, prefer for content to be pumped out with low effort rather than waiting for something of higher quality. The Aussie experiment just shows how easy it is to quickly overshadow other artists who don't have the time to post daily, or at a rate that the algorithm would promote them. Hi, editing Vin here. Although I used Ram's social experiment here as an example, he said that they do not want to be associated with Aussie anymore, and the character is now, in fact, owned by someone else under a different name entirely. Just keep that in mind in case you wanted to follow Ram for Aussie content or something like that. They want to be distanced from the situation because of the uproar that it initially caused, and I can understand that. I encourage you to follow them anyway, they post pretty good art. It's also come to my attention that Twitter doesn't tend to promote art or anything really that has a long caption or more than a few hashtags. From my observations, popular art pieces tend to have short captions and or one hashtag, and that's it. Somehow, the algorithm picks that up and lets it surf the waves of success. I have a theory, obviously my own opinion, that Twitter filters out posts that use a lot of hashtags and words because it may view it as a spam of some sort. However, hashtags and keywords are there for others to search them up and find whatever they're looking for. So if I'm right in my theory, Twitter would simply be shooting growing artists in the foot and telling them to deal with it. Either way, it's merely an observation, and I could be completely wrong, so feel free to correct me in the comments, and I'll clarify in a pinned comment or the description. Honestly, growing a platform anywhere is hard. I've heard of people taking a literal year or more to gather a mere 100 followers, no matter how hard they tried to stay on top of the algorithm and promote elsewhere. It's a daunting task to grow as an artist, a musician, an influencer, etc. Especially as a good version of any of those things. But I believe with enough time, dedication, and being in the right place at the right time, you'll eventually get to the point you always wanted to be. For me, it's simply helping people feel less alone, as well as pushing out my stories and ideas out there to be enjoyed. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about things that annoy me. I might make another video like this in the future, as I have plenty more pet peeves to go over, but that's for next time. If you wish to keep up with me and how I'm doing, feel free to follow me on the social medias listed up on the screen right now, as well as join my Discord server to hang out with others and maybe make a friend or two. I've recently revamped it, so there's a lot more to see and do now, so it'd be lovely to see you stop by. Thank you again. Oni out. Real quick, I want to show off a little bit of fan art I got a while back from a friend of mine. They've actually voice acted in that dumb little skit earlier, and I've known them for a good few years. I absolutely adore this piece. The colored line art, the details, the overall fun and relaxed vibe of it all. I love the interpretation of the Only Man's casual outfit, and Luna's outfit is just downright cute as hell. All in all, I love this drawing to bits, so a huge thank you to Luna for drawing this amazing work. Also, a huge thank you to both Luna and my boyfriend for helping with the skit in today's video. I'm extremely grateful. Thank you.